Philosophy of education. What does it mean to truly educate someone? Through my own educational experience, I found that it is really important for to give students skills that they will use in life rather than just giving students facts to prepare for one final exam. I think there's something way more fundamental in it, in offering students skills and confidence to make them competent young people. And I feel like this conviction is the foundation of my philosophy of education. My values as an educator were shaped long before I entered my teaching career. I grew up watching people around me struggle in education when I was at school myself, struggling myself with certain teachers, kind of not catering to the students that were in front of them. Um, what made the difference was whether a student felt seen. I've seen that, and giving students the confidence to contribute effectively in classroom-based discussions. Whether a teacher had taken the time to understand how that particular student learned, motivated them, and more importantly, what barriers can stand in a student's way. I feel like these values of student-centered learning have been deepened through my educational theory that I've discovered throughout my teaching practice. The work of two thinkers I think has profoundly shaped how I teach. The first is Lev Vygotsky, whose concept of zone of proximal development transformed how I think about my role in the classroom. Vygotsky argued the most powerful learning not happens when a student works alone, but in the support space with other students. And when they do this, they can achieve so much success with guidance from the teacher. This tells me that my job is to not stand at the front and transmit knowledge and students to take handwritten notes. It is to stand alongside the learner, giving them confidence, scaffolding learning activities and higher order questions to gradually give them steps and the confidence to grow. I found that another theorist that backed up this student-centered learning was Paulo Freire, who challenged what he called the banking model of education, the passive idea that students are empty vessels waiting to be filled by the knowledge of the teacher. Freire believed that authentic education is a dialogue, that students bring their own knowledge and experiences and insight into the classroom, and this deepens the learning of all other students around them. Each student in the classroom has an important value, and that students can learn from each other. He also believed that the real learning happens when those things are taken seriously. His work reinforced my belief that respect for the student and student relationship between teachers is not optional, it is the very foundation of effective teaching. In my practice, my philosophy shapes every decision I make as a teacher. When I plan a lesson, I start with the learner, not the content. Um, Discussing who's in the room, what barriers they might face coming to school, or what learning difficulties they might have. My role as a teacher is to remove these barriers, making sure that every student has been given equal opportunity to contribute effectively in the class and for student voice to be heard in the class. This is why differentiation is such an essential principle of my classroom practice. Another form of classroom practice that I think is really important is peer learning and discussion, because I believe that students learn as much from each other as they do from me. And I pay close attention to the language I use because language in the classroom either opens doors or closes them. My role is as a facilitator to ensure that there is a safe place where students can have dialogue and conversations to deepen their learning of content that we've covered in the lesson. My philosophy also defines how I approach my own learning as a teacher researcher. I believe that good teaching is never finished. It is always revised questions, reflect upon, and then as a result, improved. I built reflection into every week. My weekly reflections in my class really assisted this development. I use educational research not to find answers, but to change my assumptions and to develop my thinking of my students, to stay open. And I feel like that is what it means to be a professional. And that brings me to perhaps the most important question. How do I prepare for students in a future that none of us can predict? I think to teach students how to think and not want to think. I think that is important as a teacher that my philosophy for classroom education is to build classrooms where questioning is valued, where uncertainty is not something to fear, but something to work with. It is important for me that my students develop resilience, adaptability, confidence, and the skills that they need to navigate the world once they leave my classroom. I think it is also important to develop empathy and to ensure that the students are given all the tools and the information to form their own beliefs of the world and that they have the confidence and conviction to do so, that we are raising capable, competent, confident, and empathetic humans into the world. I feel like Paulo Freire summed it up best when he said that education does not change the world. Education changes people, and people change the world.